staged holiday photo, right?
I didn't get one of those done this year.
That,
That actually really worked. Yeah.
we always just, you know, go through the feed and pick something from the summer or something, you know? Right, you know.
That's my goal.
Okay.
So-
So completely.
Say again? I'm Melissa. The lawyer.
Let's do our public comments this evening.
Yes.
A good script.
I have a lot of things.
You got anything you want to share?
Yes. I am not
Oh,
All right, welcome to the school board workshop of December 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. A little past, we're going to get started. Our chair is in Zoom, so do I have a motion to open the meeting?
We don't need that.
All right,
Oh,
well,
Is she on?
if she's here, she can start.
Now she is.
Like Saved by the Bell.
Perfect timing.
Just practicing the Pledge of Allegiance in my head.
Diane, can you turn my video on? Thank you.
It should be on.
It says I can't turn it on. There, thank you. Hi, everyone. All right, let's get started so we can get going. Thank you and welcome to the Thursday, December 15th, 2022 Scarborough Board of Education meeting. Diane, can we call the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I'm sorry, can we call the attendance, please?
Yes. Miss Gammon,
Here.
Mr. Kelleher,
Here.
Miss Leong,
Here.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Here.
Mr. Mayorino,
Here.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Present.
Mr. Peony Huff.
She will be late.
Okay. And Miss Bertulier
They've been excused.
and Mr. Shumway also.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, will everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much. Agenda item 4.0 is a motion to go into an executive session pursuant to 1 MRS 4056E for the purpose of consulting with the board attorney concerning legal rights and duties of the body to return to public session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Yep. Miss Gammon,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Miss Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
Miss Tarpinian.
Yes.
All right. Agenda item 5.0 is adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Miss Gammon. Yes. Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Miss Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
and Miss Tarpinian.
Yes.
All right, we will be back at 7 o'clock. Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? All right. Good evening and welcome to the Scarborough Board of Education, Thursday, December 15th, 2022 school board meeting. Diane, would you please call the attendance? Diane, I can't hear you. I'm assuming you're waiting. Are you? No volume.
Mrs. Lindstrom.
Oh, here.
Okay.
There we go.
Mr. Mayorino,
Here.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Present.
Ms. Trapani Huff.
Here.
Ms. Bertuliat.
Here.
And Mr. Shumway.
Wonderful. Did you get Mr. Shumway?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Would everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect.
Nailed that.
Yeah. Agenda item 4.0 are adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any adjustments this evening?
No adjustments.
Okay, perfect. Agenda item 5.0 are public comment, is public comment on agenda items. Is there anybody wishing to make public comment this evening? All right, hearing and seeing none, I will go ahead and close that. Agenda item 6.0 is the Spotlight Award recognition. For this, I will turn it over to Jillian.
All right, so I am excited to announce that our December Spotlight winner is Monique Culberson. She's not here tonight, but we have somebody to, are you planning on reading? I just wanted to make sure before I made it awkward, but anyway, but the person that nominated Monique is Hallie. Oh, Hallie, oh my gosh, I knew I was gonna do that, thank you. Hallie Thomas. And she cannot be here tonight, but what she had to say was, Monique has been such an incredibly helpful addition to the Blue Point this year. This was my first time opening up a school for the year with Kelly away, and I was not sure I was going to be able to do it on my own. Monique has led us into the school year with confidence and a much needed calm energy for us all. She has given it her all while also maintaining her position as Director of Curriculum and Assessment for the district. Thank you for everything you have done for us, Monique. Would you?
Well, I'm Rose Pomerleau and I'm a special education teacher at Blue Point School. And we did not know Hallie was nominating Monique. So the teachers and the staff were all talking about what a wonderful job she's done. And we decided we wanted to publicly recognize Monique. So we wrote a letter. Dear Scarborough community, the staff at Blue Point School would like to publicly recognize Monique Culbertson. With Kelly away, Monique's presence at Blue Point School had been a driving force in helping the staff set a positive tone for the start of this year. Over the past 3 months, Monique has continued to lead at Blue Point, maintaining a calm, optimistic, and organized atmosphere while Kelly has been out. Monique started this school year as our interim principal while simultaneously continuing her position as the Director of Curriculum and Assessment for the district. She jumped in with both feet, both arms, and her whole being. She has played a vital role as a leader to our staff and students. Monique has been present and proactive. She is in the building daily and in the cafeteria, helping at lunch, walking the hallways, connecting with the students, talking with the teachers, and helping out at bus duty. She even rode the bus to help a particularly difficult route. Monique's hands-on approach for solving problems, keeping up with daily activities, making connections, and sharing her knowledge, along with her willingness to learn from us, has been greatly appreciated. Our staff has commented, Monique is friendly and approachable. And another staff person said, and I appreciate how trusting she is in each of us to fulfill our own and execute our own individual roles at Blue Point. She does not operate via micromanaging. We want all in our Scarborough community to know how blessed we are to have Monique Culbertson as part of the Scarborough School District and part of our Blue Point family. With heartfelt appreciation, the staff at Blue Point School.
Thank you so much. That really speaks to how hard she works. And you know, definitely she was doing all the other curriculum stuff as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, you know, coming from the perspective as a superintendent, to have a principal having to go on leave as you're opening a school is such a tough, so tough. And you know, preaching and wanting to have an administrative team and talking about teamwork across the buildings and with our administrative team. I mean, it's one thing to say it, and then it's another thing to model it and do it. And it was just so appreciative. And it's just an example that resonates so much more deeply than me saying, hey, we all have to function as a team. She lived it, and I'm just so appreciative of her efforts this fall at Blue Point. It was it's a tough spot to be in, and she just jumped right in and did it. So that's great.
Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody else have anything? Anybody else? All right. Well, if Monique were here, we would be presenting her with this Spotlight Award certificate and a mug. So we'll get that to her. If you're watching, Monique, thank you so much. Sure. Great. Great. Sure thing. Thank you. That's it.
All right, are there any other comments or questions? I just want to say, Rose, thank you for that lovely email, or letter, I mean, excuse me, that when we received your email that you had a letter on behalf of the teachers. I think everybody, it was really touching for all of us to know that you were writing this at the same time. It happened almost simultaneously as the same time Monique was chosen to receive the award. And so it couldn't have aligned better. And we all appreciate, I think I can speak for everybody confidently and say we all appreciate the words that you've expressed and how supportive you've been of Monique. It takes, she has done an amazing job, as you've said, as Jeff has said, and Jillian has said, but it also is that team behind her as well. So that's, it's really a wonderful thing to see. So thank you, Rose, as well, for joining us and for sharing that letter. All right. Agenda item 7.0 is a remembrance, is those on the board and in our community might recall, recently we lost one of our community members. It was very, very important to our school district, to our teachers, to our staff, to our principals, to our administration, to the school board. Paul was very much a very active member, as you'll hear in just a few minutes, with our school district. I unfortunately never got the opportunity to meet him, but when I heard of his passing, I did have Chris Brownlee, one of our previous board chairs, reach out to me, and we had a discussion, and I did invite him and Jackie and Mary to come and speak on behalf of the school district, really, about Paul Koziel's impact to our district and how he really, the work he did and the generous spirit he had with Scarborough. So I would love to invite them up to speak about Paul.
Thank you. I think I'll start out. I'm Chris Brownsy. I was school board chair during some of the time in question. We're going to talk about Paul Kozel's contribution to Scarborough, really to the whole community. And I'm joined by Jackie Perry, who's a longtime member of the school board and during those crucial years, and Anne Marie Dexter, who was intermediate school principal during that time. And there were so many people involved. So, in 2010, when this process really started, what I want to really point out about what Paul contributed, there was transition in school board leadership, there was transition in Scarborough School District superintendent leadership. We had a brand new facilities director, and Wentworth School was it wasn't on the forefront of things that were going on. There had been some recent failed efforts, and I think Emery's going to talk about that to replace Wentworth. But all of a sudden it became a priority really due to demands in the community. And, there was a lot going on, and, things were kind of bleak there for a minute. And Paul Kozel stepped forward in this really kind of a difficult time and took over the project. And this was in 2010. And took over isn't the right word. I'll explain that better in a second. But and the school was completed in 2014. And without him, I can very confidently say the school would not have been completed in 2014. Even if everything else went perfectly, it maybe would have happened a couple years later if we were, if everything else went really well. But it just during that transitionary time, he came forward with unbelievable communication skills. We had a very, very large building committee. I'm going to say 50. I don't know if that's the exact number, but 40. Yes, there was a very large building committee, 40 people. And Paul's skills, just keeping everyone, even with differences of opinion, working together. Strong leader, great communicator, knew how to reach across the community, work with the town council, work with school staff. I think school staff, felt included in project all along. And it was a tough time because Wentworth, the old Wentworth, was not in the greatest shape. So it just, my first thought in October with his passing was obviously about his family, because they were in Scarborough, his extended family's in Scarborough. It was just a sudden tragic passing. And it's really thinking about them, but really the next thought was just what an outsized impact he had on this project. I mean, there's a lot of great volunteers, but it just was so significant for this project. And I think there's a lot more to add. I think my involvement was the biggest during the first year of getting the project passed, but there was a lot, it went on over the next 3 years after that. So Jackie Perry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for having us, because he was an exceptional person, as you will hear. Also with us, but not speaking tonight, Bob Mitchell, who was also on the steering committee, and Kelly Murphy, who also served on the committee. And I asked Joanne Sizemore if she would like to say a few words. She was Diane's predecessor and was the chief administrator on the program. And she says his leadership pulled the town and the school together for a very successful budget-minded project with a very large building committee. And then she says to tell you all to stay warm as she speaks to us from Florida. I didn't know Paul Kozel before we started this project. I want to thank Denise and Sophia and Nicholas, his wife and children, for allowing him to participate with us, because it took enormous amount of time. And as Joanne said, it was the largest building committee we have ever had in this town. And he made it work. His leadership made it work. But first and foremost, Paul Cosell was a good and honorable man. He was an exceptional leader, demonstrated by his ability to engage all of the committee members, including students. And some of the vendors, when it got to that point of furniture and playground and things like that, relayed to us that our students were far more into it than were the staff. And if you look at the furniture, and especially in the library, for example, at the Wentworth School, and you look at that playground, I chaired the playground subcommittee, and little children would say to these people who were showing their wares, well, that looks like it'll snap. That's not very safe. And is that wood? Because that'll have splinters. What are you going to do to prevent splinters? And those are the types of questions our students were asking. And when it came to furniture, they tried everything. They'd sit down and they'd move it around and they'd hold on to it and move it around. They were going to be certain that their school was their school, and Paul Cosell made that happen. As we began to work in subcommittees, Paul Cosell met with every chair of every subcommittee as they were meeting. I was fortunate enough to be invited to lunch on many occasions, as were other members of our committees. I think he met with the contractor every day. I know he walked through the school building as it was being built. And I know that Nicholas was right behind him on the weekends. When the school opened, Nicholas said to me, "This is my school." And he meant it. And now he's what, a senior in high school, I think? Sophomore? Oh, okay. I'm getting ahead of him, right? Paul also involved all town departments, and you might keep this in mind as you move forward with a new school. This whole area, tables all around, and every town department was involved. For example, we had 3 gardens, I think, and the Public Works Department dug up those gardens, took them over to Public Works, and kept them healthy during construction. Just one item. The town planner found how to mitigate the wetlands, saved us over $200,000. Maybe you don't know or don't recall that that building came in $2 million under what we voted for it, because he knew construction, fortunately, and helped out. He was a leader. Everybody felt that they had their say. Everybody felt they were involved, and everybody had ownership in that building. We had 2 gentlemen come in and volunteer. One had been, neither of whom had children in school, by the way. One had been the chair of the committee when we renovated Blue Point School. So he was now retired, but he was an engineer and he volunteered. We had a man who was an expert in computers, works for IBM, was on the building committee with the middle school. He volunteered. We had people like that come forward to help us out. We had a good time, but the meetings were right on time. We met on time. We left on time. We always had an agenda. And we always knew what the progress was in that building, as did everybody in this town. Because he not only reported to the school board on a regular basis, he reported to the town council on a regular basis. And again, as I say, that is a lasting testimony to his leadership. He was a calm person. Never heard him raise his voice. People would get into discussions in committee meetings. He'd let the discussion go, and then he would calm it down, and then he would say, well, let's take this one first, take this one first, take this one. So that when we ended the meeting, we had a solution that was agreeable to everybody who was there. Everything worked because of his leadership. And if there were glitches, we really didn't know about it because it was taken care of. He was a friend, a leader, a dad, a husband. He loved this town. He loved this school district, and Ann Mary will share some of the personal things that he did for our children and our schools. We can never thank him enough, and I wish we had done it more when he was still with us. So Paul, we love you, we thank you, we miss you. To Denise and the children, it'll get easier. But every time you look at that school, you can see Paul Cosell. His heart is there as well as with you. And I think his heart is with us as well. I thank you for being able to participate this evening. And I will turn it over to Ann Mary Dexter, who was principal when we started this whole thing.
Thank you.
As I listen to both of them and see the faces out here, I think, a little bit of redundancy going to happen right now, but I think it's like anything else, when you're proud of someone who has done so much for a community, it bears well to say it more than once. So I'm going to add my piece to it all, and I'm thrilled to see two former students sitting right here and now representing their high school students and the student body as a whole. So you really like that building, huh? Okay, good to hear. So I also want to thank you for this opportunity. And as people have said, there were certainly many people who participated, many people to be thanked, and many people to be honored. But right now, I am so pleased to be able to have that opportunity to recognize Paul Cosell. So there were, as has been alluded to, a three-time effort of designs, of budgets, of all the things that we as administrators need to do, state applications over and over again to bring the unhealthy needs of this old Wentworth school, as we called it, to the citizens. And as has been mentioned, it didn't make it, it failed. One evening, however, after failing, I'll call it one very stormy parent meeting, and I'm not talking about weather. There were parental concerns mentioned very clearly about the asbestos, about the air circulation, and recent reports from mechanical engineering had made it very clear that this was now the time to put the wheels in motion in order to have a permanent solution. Well, once the gathering in the hall had occurred where most decisions are made, as we all know, and voices among the group began to talk about who should speak to the superintendent about this and the assistant superintendent, a meeting was called. And I hadn't met Paul other than those occasional hellos in the hall as a parent to a principal. But I saw a small bit of who Paul Cosell was going to be for me as a person of great value over the next 3 years. So I think it was Paul, knowing that I would be, had I known, I should say, that I would spend 3 years with him, but it would finally bring to conclusion a 15-year saga of that building. That's a long time to wait for a building to be given to the community and to the children of Scarborough. Following the parent meeting, Joanne Sizemore, a former assistant superintendent, and Dan Cecil, who was representing Harriman Architects at the time, and I sat and listened to Paul as he presented his thoughts. And he presented them as a citizen. He presented them as a taxpayer. He presented them as a parent. Explaining his systematic work philosophy. First time anyone had ever done that in those 15 years. He believed in it. He organized, he had an organized approach. He was clear, well articulated in what he said to us, and oozed, very formal word, oozed with determination. Well, when he walked out the door, the three of us looked at each other and went, he's our guy. We've found our citizen leader, because all the projects had needed that citizen leader, not the superintendent, not the assistant superintendent, but that leader coming from the citizens. So the way I looked at Paul and still remember him well, if there was a puzzle, Paul would solve it. In numerous scheduled meetings, which you've heard about from Jackie, Paul worked with us to create an action outline. It was inclusive. It was respectful of others while holding us all to the expectations and high ones. It included analysis and an assessment of current environmental conditions. It included developing strategies and basic organizational plans. It included a plan and all the components that would be translated into operational actions, which would be evaluated. They would have to sustain. They would be refined over and over again during that period of construction and preparation for construction. Through it all, our friend Paul never said, can't be done. In fact, as others walked away, shaking their heads at us, Paul offered that quirky smile of his. He took that step forward that you've heard everyone speak of. And at that moment, when he did that publicly, he secured a legion of followers onto that battlefield with purpose and with plan. Ultimate negotiator, a bit of boyish charm, a fierce can-do attitude, wrapped in an intelligent design with consistent follow-through. These were Paul Kozel's traits as building committee leader. This committee model, and I'm going to be a bit redundant, but this committee model had never been used in the state of Maine. So Scarborough should be proud of that. It consisted of approximately, and I counted, 42 Scarborough stakeholders divided by task into 9 focus teams. Paul had the skills to readily and knowledgeably deal with the complexity of all construction phases, from securing land to actually operating the backhoe. Within the town, business, and citizen communities, Paul was the face of the Wentworth Project. He offered regular updates to the school board and town council. He prepared well and was always ready to answer the hard questions. He took the word, overused word, transparent, and he gave it legitimacy from the day he walked through the door to the official ribbon cutting ceremony. Paul understood and valued diverse opinions. He welcomed the opposition, leaning into their ideas and objections, believing that honest answers and clear expectations for that person or the group would provide the needed response that they had, and it might actually guide their thinking in another direction. Did it work? Not always, but in the end, it worked enough to get that project moved forward to completion. Paul was true to his word. He put his money where his commitment was. If donations were needed, He was one of the first to open his wallet, contribute in-kind product, and do the labor. As you walk into Wentworth today, you will note there are 2 benches set along the library wall and a beautiful corner table in the main office. These were labors of love. For Paul, it was Scarborough's past. The wood was salvaged with the help of Scarborough's Public Works so that Paul could arrange for the pieces of Elsa the beloved tree to be part of the new Wentworth School. One of the child-focused events was ideally to have a walk around the construction site. Well, because of laws and rules and safety, of course, you couldn't do that. But we did arrange a whole field day for children, and the classroom teachers took them out along the fence lines where they were able to see the construction site. They were able to try on hard hats for some. They were able to watch the big equipment move, which was a thrill for intermediate level children. Paul even brought a flatbed bed with equipment on it, and he brought it into the playground area to make the experience firsthand for the kiddos. And just before one of the final beams was to be set in place in the new Wentworth structure, Paul arranged for it to be signed by all children and staff. And then it went up and it was put in place. When Paul wasn't all business, he showed his playful side. Paul loved his family. Paul did this for his children, Sophia and Nicholas. While we might not have always seen eye to eye on the Wentworth project, or to put it more politely, the project through the same lens, respect led to an admiration and ultimately to a friendship. Bridges, books, never did I expect the 2 to meet and produce a state-of-the-art structure. And my thanks goes to Paul Kozel.
Yeah, I saw Paul like a week before he died because his son Nicholas is on the cross country team. And he was always just really supportive to everyone. And he always cheered his son on. Nick actually got injured that last meet, so it was kind of tough. And he helped out when Nick was at the 10. And he was a really good guy. I remember we were trying to move the tent because it was in a pretty stupid spot. And I was trying to get everyone, I was trying to convince like, the coaches and everyone. And no one was really supporting me, but Paul was right there and he was helping me out and trying to get us to move it. And he helped move the tent. And that was like my last memory of him. He was really helpful and he was a great guy, great father.
Thank you, Colby. Are there any other comments? Thank you so very much, Chris and Jackie and Anne-Marie and everybody who is there on behalf. I hate like heck that I cannot be there. And I truly, I cannot express enough how much I appreciate your help in doing this. And even though I didn't have the opportunity to know Paul, it's clear to me based on your beautiful words and Colby, what you share, we were all the better for having him in Scarborough. So thank you for helping us to remember him and recognize his impact, not only to the Wentworth School, but to the teachers, the staff. His presence is felt throughout the entire district. So thank you. All right. Agenda item 8.0 is the SEF update. I know we have a representative from the SEF who is joining us this evening, so I'll go ahead and welcome them to the podium.
Thanks. Well, that's a tough act to follow. Some really kind words shared. But I'm Colleen Ammon, and I'm here to just tell you all a little bit about the Scarborough Education Foundation. I'll just give you a little bit of history on myself. I have 4 children, 3 who are graduates from Scarborough High School and a current senior. I'm current president of the Scarborough Education Foundation, thanks to Freyla recently joining the school board. So as I said, I'm just here to share a little bit about us and our vision and who we are. So the Scarborough Education Foundation endeavors to bring educators' ideas to life. We raise money that's intended to fund innovative ideas whose funding falls outside the normal educational budget considerations. So we receive grant applications that go through the school administrators and the superintendent's office, and then come to our grants committee for review. And then, we hope to support different creative ideas in the classroom. And so since CEF was founded, it's funded nearly $250,000 in educator grants. And as recently as this week, we're awarding 6 new grants. They'll all be notified tomorrow by the end of the day tomorrow afternoon. So I can't share with you what the 6 new grants are because not everybody's been notified. But I can tell you that this year's grants total $16,367. So we were really excited to be able to see some great ideas come forward and then be able to support the educators in different schools in the Scarborough school system. So together as a community, we work in close partnership with the Scarborough Public Schools to invest in a more creative and thoughtful tomorrow for our children. Our mission, the Scarborough Education Foundation connects the generosity of our community with the creativity of our educators to invest in improving the learning outcomes of the students of Scarborough Public Schools. So as I said, some of you may be familiar with some different grants that have come up over the years. As I said, they've been represented through all of the schools in the district, and the ones that are coming out are similarly being shared throughout. So I'm going to just introduce, they're not here, but I'm going to mention the other people that are on our board. They're all parents in the Scarborough community. As I said, I'm Colleen Ammon. I'm the current president and the fundraising chair. Michelle Wright is our secretary and grants chair. John Ducey is our treasurer. Christina Philibert and Michelle Romano are newer current board members. One of the things that I'll say is we have a very small board. And so if anybody, knows of anybody who might be interested in learning more about us or participating with us, or if anybody happens to be listening, please let us know. Please check out our website. It really, we really feel like we're making an impact in the Scarborough schools, but we could perhaps do a little bit more if we had some more people working with us. So I will just share that. And then I just would like to share a couple of ways that people in the community can support Scarborough Education Foundation. So we did kick off our annual appeal on Giving Tuesday, November 29th. Donations can be received through our Facebook page and our website. In the past, we've really been appreciative of 100% board participation and hope that we that you'll all continue to support us this year. Additionally, through Amazon Smile, Scarborough Education Foundation can be the recipient there. And then something that the community can look for in the new year is last year we kicked off in February a teacher appreciation. So rather than doing something around the holidays, we waited until the winter and did it in February. We're going to be doing that again this year. So that's an opportunity for community members to honor and appreciate their teachers with something from the Scarborough Education Foundation to represent the donation made to Scarborough Education Foundation in the teacher's name. And we found that to be a successful project last year, and we will be doing that again this year. So that's another opportunity for the community to support us. So, and I want to just thank you all for the opportunity. We just appreciate being able to share our mission and who we are. Because I think there are still a lot of people in the community who don't really know what the Scarborough Education Foundation is, and this is a good way for us to get ourselves out there. So thank you for the time tonight. So does anybody have any questions about us or? Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing about the new grant recipients this year. That's exciting. So we'll be on the lookout for the news tomorrow or potentially maybe next week. All right, agenda item 9.0 is new business. I'm going to bundle 9.1 and 9.2. They are the meeting minutes from December 1st, 2022 workshop and the meeting minutes from December 1st, 2022 business meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
thank you. Is there any discussion of the minutes? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Sure. Ms. Gammon,
Pass, or yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Yes.
Ms. Bertulia, and Mr. Shumway.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Agenda item 9.3 is the Scarborough Middle School Hannaford donation. There are a few of them, as you can see, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, and 9.6 and 9.7. So I will bundle those together. Jeff, did you want to talk about those?
Yeah, just quickly, that's the Hannaford Help Schools program. So the amounts for the middle school is $729. And then, let's see, Blue Point, $546. Pleasant Hill is $582. And then what was the Eight Corners amount? Oh, there it is, $504 for the Hannaford Helps program.
All right. So I'm going to bundle 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, and 9.6 together, which are the Hannaford Helps donations. Do I have a motion to approve the donations as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, Diane, can we call the vote, please?
Yeah, Ms. Gammon,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes, and thank you so much.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Yes.
Ms. Bertulia,
Yes.
and Mr. Shumway.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, agenda item 9.7 is the Pleasant Hill School Clink donation.
Come on, Mike. There we go. Right. So this is the Clink program, and for collecting bottle returns for 3 months at Pleasant Hill School. And the amount is $598.90.
Nice.
It's a lot of bottles.
That is impressive. Do I have a motion to approve the Pleasant Hill School Clink donation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Ms. Gammon,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Yes.
Ms. Bertulia,
Yes.
and Mr. Shumway.
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, agenda item 10.0 is adjournment. Do I have a
So moved.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Sure. Ms. Gammon,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
I don't know. Yes.
Ms. Leong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Mayorino,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Yes.
Ms. Bertulia,
Yes.
and Mr. Shumway.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. And just one last time, I'm still thinking about it. Thank you again, Chris, Jackie, and Anne Marie. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a lovely evening, and we will see you in the new year. Good night.